What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, the man, the myth, the legend himself, RizGod, Riz God, baby. Bringing you guys another episode of the one and only RizPod, episode 12 today, breaking down something that's pretty relevant. We're talking once again NBA playoffs, baby. 3 games into every single series. Can't wait to break it down with you all today. But we're going back to not me being solo, but having a guest on the show. He is a reoccurring guest. This is going to be his 3rd time on the pod. Someone we haven't seen in a while. So let's give a round of applause. Welcome back, Mr. Chris Lopez. Chris, how are we doing today?
I'm good. I'm doing good, Riz guy. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Ready to talk some NBA with you. Ready to see what your thoughts are on this playoff round so far. Before we get into it, I kind of leave the floor open to you. It's been a while since you've been on. Any new things happening? Anything you kind of want to say to the audience?
No, I'm just happy to be back. I'm here with some hot takes, some crazy takes, So I'm ready to make a splash for the pod.
It's a pool party in Utah. That's the last time we heard you. So I'm ready to hear what you have to say about Mr. Pool Boy. But we'll save him for later. I think, obviously, with there being 4 series, with almost all of them having 3 games apiece being played, I think we'll go to one that I feel like maybe me and you probably have the least stake in terms of a viewership. And that's probably between the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers. Right now, through 3 games, we've seen the Celtics go up 2-1 over the Sixers. And by the way, the Sixers did steal a crazy game 1. I'm going to kind of let you take your thoughts on it because I have some thoughts more so about game 1 and just kind of the future of the series than anything else. But I'll kind of let you take it. What do you feel about this series? Do you feel like with the Celtics being up within the first 3 games, that's kind of how it's going to go? I kind of want to hear your thoughts on the first 3 games and just what to expect for the rest of the series.
Well, I definitely think Philly did steal game 1 because Boston took them lightly without Joel. Like they said, hey, Joel's banged up. I don't think they really thought James was going to come out as hot as he did. Like he had 45, not missing from 3 almost. He was just, special.
Stripper James Harden from Houston is back, baby.
Yeah, it was like his Houston days. He came, put that team on his back, and he stole the game from Boston. And I think that's what Boston really needed, like a punch in the mouth again. Because you saw with Atlanta, I think they did the same thing. Not that they lose the game, but they needed a punch in the mouth to finish what they,
or a step on the head, either or.
Yeah, I mean, that was brutal. Joel almost made him get a face mask.
And for Grant Williams to come back and be like, it's all right, big bro. Don't worry. It's just basketball. It says a lot about Grant Williams' play. But sorry, didn't mean to go off tangent. Keep on going.
No, go ahead. I mean, Boston, I think Boston's doing what they're supposed to do. As I honestly, when they knowing even though they're the 2nd seed, I still saw them as the 1st seed because I think just how dominant they've been throughout the whole season. Just you could just tell they really have minor flaws in their teams. Like they have a great bench player, Malcolm Brogdon. They have a good role player in Derek White. Marcus Smart knows his role, passing, defense. And the duo of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum really this whole year have been ridiculous. Like we're super ridiculous. So I expect this. I honestly, even with Joel in game 1, I thought Boston was going to be up by now 3-0 at least.
Yeah, I think looking at the series, like we kind of alluded to, I think looking at the postseason so far and looking at all the crazy performances. I mean, I know Jimmy had a 56-point game performance. Curry had 50 in game 7. Jokic just had like almost a 20-20-20 triple-double last night. Devin Booker almost had 50. Like looking at every single performance, I genuinely do believe James Harden's game 1 performance was the best performance in the postseason so far. For someone to go on the road like James Harden, who is a seasoned vet. I mean, like James Harden is one of the best scorers of all time, especially within this generation. But he's tailored his game into being a point guard now. For him to be like, I don't want to say he's washed, but a lot of people don't think he's the same guy that he is. A lot of people call him a free throw merchant or whatever. For him to go into Boston, which, like you said, I viewed as the number 1 seed in all of the NBA, even though they didn't have it record-wise, to go in there without Joel Embiid, who won the MVP, and really just go out there and just give bucket after bucket after bucket. And I do want to make this hot take. I know we touched upon it, like personally, me and you, but I feel like it's something to touch up on because I look at all these other performances and like, yes, Jimmy Butler's 56-point game against the Bucks was crazy. Yes, Curry had 50 in game 7, but I do think James Harden performance in game one was way better than either one of those performances, just for the fact that they're on the road against the best team in basketball. And every single bucket James Harden had, a lot of them came in the clutch, was go ahead bucket, go ahead bucket. It wasn't like meaningless buckets like, oh, like we're already up 10 or whatever. Like Boston would score, James Harden would answer right back. Boston would score, James Harden would come back, vintage step back. Dude, he had like 4 of them in the fourth quarter. It
Yeah.
was so bizarre to see. Like I said, like Houston Harden came back, literally took over the game, and I just think that performance itself should be highlighted for years to come, because what James Harden did was, it was like a him performance. Like he was fucking him. But like you said, I mean, for him to do that gave Boston that punch in the mouth or that step on the face, and
Yeah.
really realized that they needed to lock in. Game two was an absolute blowout. No shock there. Game three was a little bit closer, but I think Boston. I think Boston is probably going to close this out in 5, if not 6. I do think. I don't know. I don't think Joel Embiid is cut out for the playoffs, to be honest. I think, sure, he's scoring 34 in the regular season, but he's only averaging 20 points in the playoffs. I mean, the Nets, yes, they got swept. And yes, I was totally wrong on my take on the Brooklyn Nets, but they locked Joel Embiid up and they just let everybody else beat them. And I think that's what the Celtics are kind of doing as well. I just don't know. I just don't think a big man, like a dominant big man, is going to ever win you a chip anymore, at least in this kind of era of basketball. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, Brooklyn gave most of the league the blueprint for the playoffs. If you face the Sixers, this is what you got to do to Joel. Like,
Yeah.
Joel completely out the game. Have James, D'Anthony Melton, Niang, whoever else, Tobias Harris, have
Yep.
these guys beat you. Joel can beat you by yourself. We've seen it throughout the whole year. Like, he's the MVP. Like, he's
Yep.
dominant. You take him out the game, let's see what Philly's got. So, I mean, to your take of, not winning with a dominant big man in this era, I think you can, but you have to pair him the same way people say you have to pair LeBron with shooters.
Right.
You surround him with true shooters and a true point guard. To me, a true point guard, even though James, don't get me wrong, James Harden is an amazing playmaker, and that's another piece. But James's game is a bit, on and off. He's not as consistent as he was in Houston. I can't, usually you think, okay, James Harden tonight's going for 25 and 9. Like that's just
Right.
on the stat line, Now it's more of like, you'll get maybe a 15, you'll get 4, you'll get the assist 6 or 8, but it's just not as, impactful when you're playing with a guy like Joel Embiid. So I think you can win in this era because look at Jokic. Jokic used to they're doing a little bit of both.
And we'll get to him when he comes. But to be honest, but Jokic's play style is very different compared to Embiid. Embiid is a very ball dominant, low post. Give me a get out my way. I'm going to go score. And Joel Embiid has definitely improved as a playmaker this season. But like Jokic, I think is very different in the sense where he doesn't need to score to impact the game.
Well, I think the reason that Jokic does play that way is because he's surrounded by those good players, by those good shooters. Jamal, Michael Porter Jr. He has a guy like Aaron Gordon who can get a bucket. A bunch of other guys that
KCP, a lot of other guys for sure.
Exactly. He knows that, hey, all I gotta do is kick it out here. 40% shooters, 30% shooters, they're gonna knock it down for me. So that's why I think Jokic plays that way. I feel like if you take that away, you put Jokic in a Philly situation, he could make those guys better the same way. Maybe he'll play the same way, but I feel like he'd be much more assertive in his game, score a bit more, because he knows he'd have to do it himself. Like Joel knows he has to do it himself. He knows he can't truly rely on Harden. I honestly think Joel took a shot at Harden in that post game with the whole Vegas trip situation going on. Like he says, guys have to show up. And it's true. Yeah, James showed up game 1, but then, next 2 games, it's like, oh, okay, James, like what? Like we want to see that James again. Like even with Joel on the floor, give us 30. Joel can give us 32. Like just keep coming. So.
And it's so funny because I guess I'm going to do a little hot take here. I think bringing Joel Embiid back for game 2 might have been the wrong decision. I don't think he took I don't think he's as injured or anything for that matter. But when you're going out without your best player, the Sixers were hungry in game 1. Like they were hungry. Maxey balling. D'Anthony Melton had like 19 points. Dude was like 5 for 8 from 3. Hungry. Like you had all these guys that were hungry to play. And then after game 1, it just seemed like they were like, all right, we stole it. We stole a series. We have home court advantage. We're chilling. And then game 3, they played a little bit better at home. Joel Embiid obviously had a way better game than he did game 2, but none of the Sixers scorers scored over 15. Like none of them in game 2 showed up. So
No.
game 3, I feel like you go out there, put out Maxey, let these guys kind of have another game to like be hungry. Because I'm sure like the role players took a step back because they're like, all right, Joel's back, our MVP's back, let's see what he can do. And he didn't do shit. So I think we're kind of like on the same page in a sense that the Celtics probably are going to win this series. But if we flip the script, what do you think the Sixers need to do to win this series?
I mean, I think they're doing everything they can now. They, I think they need a bit more scoring production from James. Their bench players need to keep, being productive. Tobias Harris might need. I think for Philly, Tobias Harris needs to be the X factor for them because Tobias is a guy who could get you 15 to 20 points a night.
For sure.
A couple boards. He'll play a little bit of defense. They need to step up on their defense as well. Between, it's tough. It's tough between Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Those guys are going off. But if you step it up just a bit more, I think be a bit more aggressive with them. You can knock them off the game a little bit. And really, with the production of James, scoring a bit more, maybe get Embiid going a bit more. Like try to get him easier buckets in a sense, like pick and rolls, pick and pops. Don't let and double team him, take him out the game, make him a passer. Run him a set, get him in the post, get him a switch, and get Joel going just a bit more.
Yeah, I think a lot of the offense that I've been seeing from the last 2 games from Joel Embiid in the playoffs is they're just dumping it off in the high post and just kind of letting him create his own shot, whether it's that iconic like kind of fadeaway pull-up shot that he does to create space or like works with his back to the rim. Like I don't know if that's per se the best route. Honestly, this might be a really hot take, but I think what the Sixers need to do is kind of focus in on icing out Jaylen Brown and everyone else and kind of let Jason Tatum get in his own head. I feel like Jason Tatum, like just let Jason Tatum be the scorer. Like ice out everyone else and let him get every single bucket because we saw in game 1 when the lights shine brightest, Jason Tatum crumbled. He crumbled in the finals last year. And even all those times they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, a lot of people want to blame his age being young. Sure. But when the time really mattered most, Jason Tatum did not step up at all. He's not known as a clutch player. And we saw it in game 1 against the Sixers. All they had was James Harden. James Harden came out and bang, bang, bang. Tatum did nothing. That's how I think you need to beat this Celtics team because if you go to the bench, I mean, Malcolm Brogdon won 6th Man of the Year for a reason. This guy's averaging 15 points off the bench. He's insane. Like you said, Derek White is insane. Like everybody that they just have coming off the bench are hungry. Whereas the Sixers, you're kind of just relying on Joel Embiid to do something. Let Maxey, let all these other guys get involved. Let Bang Bang Niang, whatever they call him, minivan, hit some threes. D'Anthony Melton, get him involved. Like, I think it's more so making the role players around the Celtics do bad and let Tatum kind of score everything because when it matters more, you got all these role players that are cold and like now you expect Tatum to be the big shining star. So I think you got to put the pressure on Jason Tatum and that's not what they're doing.
Another X factor I just completely forgot is Maxey. If it was up to me, I'd tell Tyrese Maxey, hey, this is your team. Go ahead and do what you got to do and get buckets.
Right.
Because I think he's been one of their more successful scorers in a sense, consistent scorers, besides Joel. Like Tyrese Maxey is going to get you 20, 25, 30 sometimes. If you let him go, kids, he's quick. He can shoot. Like, I think if they could get him going as well, I think besides Tobias, but Tyrese Maxey specifically,
I think it's tough for Tyrese because his matchup probably is Marcus Smart with Jaylen Brown guarding James Harden. But I think, and Doc Rivers is this like great coach to like the casuals, but everybody knows that is a big NBA fan. Like Doc Rivers chokes always and he just never shines. I think Doc Rivers needs to come up with a game plan and really like, I just think the Sixers win with their role players. Like you need to get everybody else involved because Joel Embiid and James Harden can get a shot anytime they want, realistically. You got to get everybody else involved. And we kind of touched up on it. I think the blueprint to beat the Sixers has been shown by the Nets. Like, yes, the Nets got swept, but they just showed the league what they need to do. And I really don't see the Sixers pulling anything out. Like, I can see them winning game 4 to tie this up, but I'll see them losing the next 2. I think, once again, the Sixers just need to be hungry, and they don't seem hungry. They just seem hungry for Cancun, in my opinion.
Honestly, yeah, could agree with that.
Um, but no comment. No comment on the James Harden having the best performance. Is that something that you agreed with? Are you a Jimmy Buckets fan, Curry fan, in terms of best? Devin Booker. I mean, all these guys are still in the playoffs, so we could touch up on that when we get there. But
I think your hottest take was it should be remembered for years to come. I honestly think since it's a game one, it's truly not special, but it's just not as memorable as those other guys' games was. Game 7 Curry, that's 50 points. Game 7, this is do or die. You know, this you're facing a second seed. Yeah, they're inexperienced, they're a young team. We kind of knew that the Warriors would take them to the brink and win anyways because they have the experience, championship DNA and all. But those guys still took them 7. You know, made it really difficult for them. And Steph went out and had a crazy performance. When the team literally said, "Damn, I mean, I really have nothing else to do." Clay wasn't doing much. I mean, the only
yeah,
person you can say was doing something was Kevon Looney, but all he
Looney.
did was rebound.
Right.
He wasn't getting buckets. He was just getting the ball, giving them second chances, getting them possessions, letting Steph cook. So I honestly think his performance, if you don't want to say his performance being game 7, Jimmy Bucket's 50-point game was pretty special as well.
Yeah.
Considering, you're against the number 1 team, a guy many considered, MVP this year, Giannis, like he and the way he played, just nonstop playing, going full throttle. Well, I forgot how many points he had in the fourth quarter, but I know he had like 20 in the first quarter. You know what I mean? Like carrying
Right.
literally on his back. I would maybe edge it to Jimmy for that performance alone because he literally put the team in his book bag and said, "Let's go." But it's between him and Curry. I think the best performance. James, it was a special performance, but like I said, it's a game 1. You know what I mean? It's a shock.
And I think I agree in a sense of just like magnitude and whatnot. I just think looking at just looking at the way that they got their buckets, I think James Harden's were meaningful, and like not even in like a broad spectrum in a sense. Like, all right, it was game 7, it was game 1, but just looking at the game footage, if like it was just a random game and you just saw how they got their buckets, like I just thought James Harden, looking at the score and looking at the gameplay, I thought he was just stellar. I mean, so was Curry and Jimmy Butler. But yeah, kind of wrapping up this series. Who do you got winning it, and how many games to advance in the Eastern Conference Finals?
I got Boston in 6. I think Sixers get one more, and then Boston just finishes them off.
Do they get 1 in 4 or 5? Game 4 or 5? What do you say?
They probably take game 4. They probably
All right,
come
folks,
back and take it.
you heard it here first. Chris says hammer game 4 Sixers money line, and hammer game 5 Celtics, and game 6 Celtics money line. I'm actually on the same boat. I think the Celtics win in 6. I think Sixers win game 4 at home. They got to take 1 at home, and then Boston kind of cleans it up. But yeah, I think they steal 1, and then the Celtics just kind of take care of business. Speaking of business to take care of, I think we're going to go over to the Western Conference. The series that started first in this entire semifinals, and that is the Nuggets over the Phoenix Suns. Currently, the Nuggets are up 2-1. We just had game 3 last night, which was an absolute stellar performance by Devin Booker. I mean, Kevin Durant had almost 40. I think he had 39, but he shot abysmal. The Suns is a very interesting team because on the RizPod, I've been hyping up the Suns, saying that they're the real deal. I mean, you got Devin Booker, you got Kevin Durant, 2 of the top 5 scorers in the league, in my opinion. You got DeAndre Ayton, who is supposed to be an elite center in this league, and he's proven in this series to that absolutely not be. And you got Chris Paul, who's arguably one of the best point guards of all time, now being injured. I know you're a Devin Booker stan, so I kind of want to hear your thoughts on his performance this series, his performance in game 3, and then kind of the same thing like the Celtics-Sixers series. What do you think is going to happen? What's your verdict? What's your take on the first 3 games, and what's your take on going to happen in the next 4 if we get there?
I mean, if we look at it, even when these playoffs have been a bit weird, I kind of knew the Nuggets would take business at home. like they were just gonna go and just be the Nuggets, be explosive at home, high altitude, place to play in, tough to play in. I think the only way Phoenix truly took a game if you really had Book go completely berserk or KD go completely berserk, and they just still complement each other. So when I mean berserk, I mean like 50 from either one of them, and the other one gets like 30 or 40. You know what I mean? Like they did last
Right.
night. Like they did last night. Literally, that's how they got that game 3. Book going crazy and KD going just as crazy just to compliment him.
Right.
I thought honestly the series was going to be tough from the jump. I was worried to see what Denver was going to do with KD. Not so much with Devin, just what would KD do if he would come out, just take advantage of Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, those guys to see. But obviously, Denver handled their business at home. Like they knew what they had to do, and they got it done. I think DeAndre Ayton has just been meh. And I
A
feel
no-show, in my opinion, an absolute no-show.
like I mean, he's grabbing some boards, but even then, it's like it's still okay, like an okay performance. A meh. Like, what are you there for? You know what I mean?
He's their third star, and I think entering the almost crunch time in the fourth with like 3-4 minutes left, he had like 25 minutes played in the entire game. Absolutely, like when Monty Williams has lost faith in the number 1 overall pick, as proclaimed that DeAndre Ayton was supposed to be, he was supposed to be the next David Robinson in terms of comparisons. He's been absolutely far from that, which is disappointing. I mean, the guy has the make to be great. We're not saying he needs to go out there and get bucket for Jokic, because that's what KD and fucking Devin Booker is there for. But you would think they would make his life easier. You would think he would have 20 points. He would be killing them right now, but he's just not. And I think that's more of a testament to how bad DeAndre Ayton is, as well as maybe Monty Williams' coaching. I think the one thing that I've realized from the Suns that I'm very disappointed in, and even though they took care of business for the Clippers in 5 in the first round, which I did predict, but not how I expected it, because Kawhi went out, Paul George was out. I think what I'm shocked with, but I guess it's working out, is why Devin Booker is solely running the entire offense. I think Devin Booker, with the ball in his hand, has been absolutely amazing. I don't whatever he's averaging, 37 points in the playoffs, all this fun, all this crazy stuff, playing 45 plus minutes a game. I just think Devin Booker and KD, why they're so great is they can play off the ball. But I think you want to benefit more as KD being the point guard, or being the guy with the ball in his hands, or even like a campaign. Obviously, I just think treat Devin Booker like a Klay Thompson, like a Steph Curry, like use screens, let him run around, like create situations for him, because what the Nuggets are doing, which it's worked so far, we'll see if it continues to work in the series, is they're letting KD and Booker just go whatever, because they know nobody else is going to do anything, because the Suns bench is trash. I mean, last night TJ Warren did okay, Terrence Ross did okay, Jock Landale did okay. Like, they had guys that kind of stepped up, but realistically their bench is dog shit. And then you got the Nuggets, who got Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, MPJ, KCP, Jokic, Christian Braun, like all these guys like are playing good, meaningful minutes. Like, even though the Nuggets were the number 1 seed, I don't really think anyone had high hopes for the Nuggets. And I can very much see the Nuggets making the finals, to be honest. I think depending how they handle this, and depending who they play in the conference finals, like Jokic and this team have the chemistry. They've been building this team for the last 3-4 years. And if Jamal Murray is playing the way that he's playing, I don't really see a team stopping the Nuggets, because I don't know. I think the Nuggets, after seeing what I've seen in these 3 games, are going to get business taken care of. I do want to give the benefit of the doubt for how great KD and Booker are. And I know I'm complimenting Devin Booker on the RizPod. But I got to give his flowers. I do think this goes to 7. I wouldn't be shocked if the Suns win. But I think Jokic and just the talent around the Nuggets are just too much to handle, with CP3 being injured and just with the lack of a bench for the Suns.
I mean, I feel like that should be investigated. I feel like every playoffs come around, big games, CP hurts his hamstring. I feel like he has some type of voodoo on him or something, because it's insane how every year it has to be something with him.
But it's written in the script that CP0 rings is actually going to come into fruition. So, but continue.
But I mean, you touched upon it very well. I think the Suns can pull it off with just those 2 guys, honestly, because I feel like they're just the Nuggets. they're the number one seed and everything, but to me, they don't give me the. You said it on your one of your last podcasts about them. Like they're just not
a powerhouse.
Yeah, like sure you got Jokic, you got Jamal, MPJ is a nice compliment, but it's just not enough in a sense. Most of those guys don't really have the playoff experience KD has. Even Book went to a finals. It's not as much playoff experience, but he went to a finals. Chris Paul.
Right.
Just I think with just those three guys alone elevates the Suns by just like an inch by the Nuggets. Just off the mentality and how those guys play.
And I do want to say a comment about CP3, even though that he's injured. I do think CP3 has been terrible this not only this series but this postseason. Like you can definitely see that he's aging, and I think he's just holding it together because this is probably the best team that he's ever had in terms of just stardom. So I don't think CP3 is going to be a factor at all. I don't like the guy's barely getting 10 and 8, and he's the point god. I think for the Suns to win, which is a lot to ask, you're going to have to ask Booker and KD to do this every night. And I think that's unrealistic. Devin Booker has put up, I think, near 30 every single game this postseason. So, like, it's not far-fetched. But Booker and KD both had 30 shots each last night. And I just, with how gruesome, how long, how physical this playoffs is, I don't see the Suns really lasting. I know a lot of people, more not so a lot of people, but some people do think that the Suns are frauds. I just think it's a coaching personnel. I think Monty Williams is just not using his bench because they signed Terrence Ross. They got TJ Warren, who are good scorers off the bench, and they're just not utilizing them. So I don't really know what's happening in Phoenix.
I mean, I just think that after that trade for KD when they gutted their whole team, I mean, if you would just trade away either or Cam Johnson or Mikal, I think it would have been good. I think it would have been all right. Have Cam come off the bench or even, start alongside these guys and keep whatever the pieces you had. I think it would have been good. But you gutted your whole team for this one guy, this one star, and now it's just like,
well, and TJ Warren.
I mean, they got TJ, but what is TJ Warren really doing?
Yeah, they're not.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I think TJ Warren is a great player. Absolutely, off the bench, he should give you 15. I think he's one of those bench players, one of those role players, should be an offensive onslaught. But he's not doing that right now. He's not really being productive. So that's why I'm like, you gutted your whole team with good players, Mikal, Cam Johnson. Those guys did pretty well this year for Brooklyn, So I just feel like with just gutting their whole team, having no depth, and just saying, hey, this is a 1-year thing. KD, give me everything you got. Book, give me everything you got, and let's see how far you take me. So
right.
I think it's gonna be a tough series for the Phoenix. I mean, D Book and KD are gonna have to just completely recharge their batteries after every game, like go into a sleeping pod or something, like in Dragon Ball Z, where they just charge themselves after every game and just come back and 50 apiece like that. I think that should be their whole offense. I mean, nobody on the Suns last night had double digits besides KD and Book. The closest one was Campaign with 7.
Which is crazy to think because they scored damn near 120 points, and 90 of them came from KD and Booker, which is absolutely insane.
From 2 guys. I mean, I'd be honest, with this playoffs, Devin Booker stepped up a ton.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm not sure the average correctly, but I want to say he's averaging at least 5 to 6 assists this playoffs. And that's big for a guy who is just known as a scorer,
Right.
He's just a scorer. And just to have, multiple assists. KD, they've been making KD step up as a playmaker as well. He's averaging a bit more assists than we're usually, we're used to from KD. So
right. And I think for the Suns, there's really Ayton needs to step up if they really want a shot at this. But are we going to see that? I mean, there's clips everywhere on Twitter, game 1, like him just looking at Jokic just tap the ball up and him just not doing anything. I would be shocked if Ayton's not packed up out of there after this season. I don't really see the value in him for the Suns, but I think even though I did mention that this series could go to 7 with the Suns taking it, I think I'm going to confidently say that the Nuggets win this in 6. I don't think that KD and Booker have the longevity to keep putting up performances like they did in Game 3. I just think the Nuggets are just so much more stacked and so much more well balanced that I have the Nuggets winning in 6.
That's up. I actually want to touch up on what you were saying before about having Booker play like Clay. I think the only issue with that is Book isn't as good of a shooter as Clay is.
Right.
So, Clay could give you 5 threes. Book, if he's hot, he'll give you the 5 threes. Don't get me wrong, but he needs to be hot. He needs to go get it. He needs to create himself. I see him more as a Kobe player where, you got to give it to Kobe. Kobe's going to dribble the hell out the ball, put you in the post, fade away. He's going to put it between his legs, get by you, one step, all that. So I just don't see how they could use him that way per se. But it's a good idea. I think they should mostly use KD like that because KD is more used to it coming from a system like that, playing with the Warriors.
Right.
Feeding off of that. That's why I think they're using Book more as the point guard than KD because I think they trust Book more with the ball in his hands.
And that's totally fair. And I think I was more so kind of going with the fact that kind of do these like pin drops, go off these screens and all this stuff instead of really overloading him with trying to create his own shot every possession. Because at the end of the day, it seems like even though KD's a better player than Devin Booker, it seems like it is Devin Booker's team, and he needs to be the guy that goes out there and gets the bucket. And what better way to save his energy than have other people help him create his own shot?
Yeah. And I mean, my prediction for the series, it's so tough for me because at the same time, I see what the Nuggets are doing. But with last night, it's like, could they pull this off? Can the Suns pull this off in 6 or 7? I want to say, I think I'm going to go with Suns in 7. I think KD and Devin Booker are going to just go to war with the Nuggets and try to pull out every stop for them, to come back.
All right, fair. A little 2 different takes so far. And what better way to talk about 2 different takes than this next series, which Game 3 is actually going to be happening right now. It's about to start right now during the pod. So the people that are listening, we don't know what happened, but we'll predict what we think is going to happen for Game 3. It's between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Golden State Warriors. Bron versus Curry, part 5, part 6, if you want to count the play-in, maybe part 7 at this point. Who the fuck knows? I'll never forget that Bleacher Report like meme video where it's like, it's 2024 and the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Warriors are playing for the 8th straight year in a row. Oh my God, it's 2055. Bronny and clone LeBron and like all these funny ass shits just because everybody thought it would never end. And it seems like it's coming back into fruition. LeBron versus his arch nemesis of his career, it seems like, in Steph Curry. Game 1, we had the Lakers come to Oracle and Disney come out dominating, 30 points, 23 boards, 5 blocks, you name it, AD did it. Absolute masterclass. LeBron, who I'm honestly very shocked, is taking a back seat. Not really going out getting that many buckets, putting up 20, 22 points per game in this playoffs. Really just kind of being a team player. Austin Reeves in the Grizzlies series balled the fuck out. D'Lo is balling in the playoffs. Vando is doing good. You got a lot of players really stepping up for the Lakers, really making them title contenders. And if you said that before the trade deadline, you would be high on drugs. But I kind of want to let you take it because the Warriors are another team, a very low seed, beating the Kings. And obviously the Kings were inexperienced. They took them to 7, 1 on the road. And now they're the home court advantage team who sucks on the road. They are terrible on the road. Going to play in the Staples Center tonight. What do you think happens tonight? And kind of what do you think happens for the rest of the series?
Tonight, I feel like it's, to me, the way I always see the playoffs is if, a team steals a game at home and then the home team wins, I think the home team that third game takes the win just a back and forth. I don't think the Warriors pull off another they don't pull off another win today. I think they do take game 4, but for today, I think the Lakers win. I think Bron comes and handles his business. He shows Steph and the Warriors, hey, I'm still the king. I'm going to put my crown on. I'm going to bully Kevon Looney for an and 1. Like, I think it's just going to be one of those games for Bron where he shows up, I'm still the king. And then, next game.
Self-crowns himself.
Yeah. And then next game just goes down in production, scores 20, has 9, has 6 assists. I just think it's one of those. I think LeBron is doing conserving his energy throughout series, throughout games. Well, he'll go, boom, I'm a king, and then he'll go and be like, nah, I'm gonna let these guys see what these guys doing. You know, like you said, Reeves balling out, D'Angelo was balling out a bit as well. You know, trying to get AD going as well. Trying to get, I think he tries to get AD's confidence going more because he
Right.
understands he wants to win a chip this year, or he wants to win a chip further. He needs AD to feel like a top player, and at times I feel like that's what destroys KD. He goes and he just plays soft. He doesn't, feels like he's not a good player. He'll grab his board, sure, but when he goes and attacks and teams are attacking him, he just shies away. He doesn't play like a top 15, 10 player that he used to be. We used to say AD was one of those guys, you know what I mean?
Right.
And now it's just like we might get this AD or we might get this AD. So it's like an up and down thing. I mean, the Warriors, they're, to me, it's just about them. It's just their championship DNA with their core three, Draymond, Clay, and Curry. And now I think from last year, Curry winning that chip, I think not even last year, but I think a bit years before that, I heard Draymond in an interview saying that like Steph finally hit the weight room and he finally was like, okay, I'm gonna get a bucket. Like he changed his mentality. Like now it's just if I need a bucket, I'm gonna go get it. And I think I see that in his play style now. Like I think Steph is a guy that now is gonna want to get his buckets. And I think that changes everything for the Warriors, in my opinion, because like Steph is truly unstoppable sometimes. Like if he catches fire, good luck. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I think with that, their championship DNA, their core three with their guys, because Clay can catch fire at any time as well. I think Steph still being a difference maker and wanting to get his buckets, on being more aggressive about his buckets, not just pulling up for 50 footers. Not, you know what I mean? He's taking it more to the rack, getting free throws, get everybody going. The next factor for them, Jordan Poole. If Jordan Poole could get it going as well off the bench, or sometimes when he's put it in the starting lineup, I think he makes a big difference.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think I saw Tim Legler say this on ESPN, but I don't think there's ever been a player ever in the NBA who's gotten such a emergence in terms of all-time rankings in the later stage of their career than Steph Curry. I think last year with Steph Curry finally winning the Finals MVP and kind of like leading the team on his own in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
and really beating a very talented Celtics team propelled him into possibly being a top 10 player. I know that's up to for debate. Some people think he's top 10, some people don't. I have him at like 11, but I think Steph Curry, if he makes the finals again and wins, like he's in a conversation of not only a best point guard of all time, but like a top 5 player of all time. Like he's in that conversation. And for someone to be 35 years old, to go from like brink top 20 to being top 5 within 2 seasons is bizarre. And I think what makes this series so insane is because I don't know how you feel about this, but realistically, like whoever wins this series is probably going to the finals just because they match up way better against the Nuggets and the Suns. Like this will determine like if Braun or Curry get their opportunity for their 5th ring. And a good question I wanted to ask that I'm excited to hear your thoughts is, who do you think has more to gain from this chip? Do you think LeBron winning year or chip 5 this year means more, or does Curry winning chip 5 this year mean more to their respective legacies?
Um, it's a bit of both for me. Like LeBron wins his 5th. Many people have him better than Jordan. That's it. Like they say, if he gets 5, he's solidified better than Jordan. At the same time, people say Steph gets his 5th. Steph creeps into that conversation. He's many people. I mean, I doubt a lot of people could agree, but the way I see it, if Steph gets his 5th before Braun, I'll put him above Braun. Like it's that easy for me. Like you're gonna get your 5th before Braun, being he went to so many finals. But I'm not gonna go here, and just shit on Braun because he's a great player. He is a top 3 player. He's a top 5 player. I'm not gonna say top 5. He's definitely a top 3 player. But for Braun, this means just as much as it means for Curry. It means just as much as it means for Braun, because LeBron being the guy, people crowning him the king, people saying that he's been the greatest player. ever. Like even before he got his, his third or fourth ring, people are just saying no, he's definitely better. The conversations of the GOAT between Jordan and him, and here comes this little guy, 6 foot something point guard, scrawny as hell, shooting threes from deep, just comes up and he creeps behind you and he ties you immediately. And people are raving about it. His dynasty, his this. Here comes this guy out of nowhere, a Davidson, this small kid, a point guard, and now he ties you. And it's like now for Steph, it's like many people are still pointing him like, yeah, but your rings are this. You have no Finals MVPs. This and the third. He goes out last year, wins a Final MVP, carries the Warriors there. Even though he, of course, Jordan Poole had a great emergence. You still had Clay. You still had Draymond. You still had great, a great team. But Steph being the main dude, I think it's just a bit of both for me. I can't pick either or. But if you really put a gun to my head, I say Bron, because Bron's the guy who says he's chasing a ghost in Chicago. So I think you lose to Curry again before meeting to the finals, or you let Curry go and Curry wins his fifth. It's gonna be a lot of people preying on that downfall and being like, well, Bron, you let this little scrawny kid beat you to it. This is the guy that we crowned king, but here comes this other king, not this other king, excuse me, this other
the chef.
Yeah, here comes this little chef out of the kitchen, literally, and just surpassing you. Obviously, many people won't agree with the surpassing because LeBron, all-time scoring leader, et cetera, et cetera. People will put stats up, but
I think there's a merit to this conversation. I just think I will say I think if you look at who has more to gain, it's definitely Steph Curry, because Steph Curry, someone that's brink top 10, wins this, solidifies himself as the greatest point guard of all time. Because I think the knock that Steph Curry has compared to LeBron, yes, Curry has 4 rings. Yes, LeBron has 4 rings. LeBron has more losses than Curry does in the finals. But Curry obviously had KD for 2 of them. Curry did face a very injury-ridden LeBron team. But you can kind of vice versa go with LeBron. LeBron choked against the Mavericks. He should have won another series against the Spurs. But ultimately, I think the difference between LeBron and Curry, obviously, is LeBron just has the accolades. LeBron has the points. He's got the MVPs. He has ultimately been the best player on his team for his entire career. No one has ever been better. No one, and there's a conversation with AD still, but honestly, I still think LeBron is a better player than AD now. Call me on drugs, whatever. I still think LeBron is better when he wants to be better. Whereas Curry had a lot of competition. Yes, Kevin Durant. You know what I'm saying? Like, KD was there. Klay Thompson had peaks where he was better than Stephen Curry for a point in time. Like, I just think the reason why Curry has more to gain is he can solidify himself as the greatest in his position and arguably a top 5 player. Mm-hmm. LeBron, in my opinion, and I think in a lot of other people's opinions, I never saw Jordan live. I'm aware of what Jordan's done, but LeBron to me is the greatest basketball player of all time, just in terms of his accolades, his skill set, what he's accomplished, and what he's done. We made this joke in person, but literally LeBron has made the finals 8 straight times in a row. We were literally kids in the playground all the way to graduating high school, and every single year during that time, LeBron was in the finals. Like, there was a point in time where people watched basketball and LeBron was literally in the chip every single year. Like, that's fucking insane. And like, Tom Brady was the same way, and Tom Brady still didn't make it year after year after year after year. And LeBron did it with 2 different teams. I just think LeBron, in many people's eyes, is already the GOAT. Like, him winning a 5th, I don't think changes that. It's you either think LeBron's the GOAT or not. Like, some people don't think he needs a 5th, and even if he gets a 5th, the Jordan stans or the Jordan believers are going to say he doesn't have 6. So I don't really think LeBron gains anything from it, whereas Curry literally etches himself. I think it'd be better for LeBron's legacy, obviously, but that's why I'm very excited for this series, because you kind of alluded to it. Like, this might be LeBron's last dance in a sense for his best shot winning a chip. And who is in his way to stop him? Steph Curry, the guy that's been tainting his legacy his entire second half of his career. Like, the first half was the Spurs, and then now it's the Golden State Warriors. So I will say, I think the only way that the Lakers make it past this round, and I do want to share my screen here, is going to come down to one player. And that player is this guy that we have on screen here. It's Mr. Austin Reeves. I just kind of want to play this part. It's a big three, and he screams. What does he scream? Hold on. Where is it? Where is it? There it is. Oh, and one. Austin Reeves.
I'm him.
And just like that, Austin Reeves is saying, I'm him. I think it really comes down to Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, and all these guys to really show up because, yes, Bron could do it by himself. Can AD do it by himself? Yes. But AD is inconsistent, man. And not even bringing in gambling over unders, but every single playoff performance this season, he's gone over once and then he's gone under again. He's had a great game, bad game, great game, bad game. LeBron's been consistent throughout, but they really need their role players. Rui Hachimura has stepped up tremendously, and he's kind of looking like a savior out there in LA. And I think if Austin Reeves and D'Lo continue to produce, LeBron doesn't have to go as hard. But I think this even might be a hot take, but I think this series means more to LeBron than maybe the last series. Like maybe since 2017. Like I don't know what other series might mean more to LeBron, and that's crazy because he made the finals in 17 and 18. But this to me, I feel like means something to LeBron. Like he knows it's coming to a close soon, and he's gonna do something about it. The Warriors are tough, man. Like they have so much movement, so much screen, so much they play great defense too. I mean, I don't want to say great defense because they were abysmal on the defensive end this year, but like you said, that championship DNA, when they need a lock in, they've locked in. Kevon Looney is looking like the next coming of fucking Dennis Rodman, cleaning up 20 boards a game in the last 5 games. It's plus he's getting assists, like 5-6 assists.
Yep.
I think the adjustment that the Warriors made to start JaMychal Green in game 2 is something that they're going to keep for the rest of the series because they realized that AD cooked them like it was barbecue chicken on a Memorial Day barbecue weekend. And I think the Warriors are going to come out strong. I do think when it's all said and done, though, maybe it's my little bias, maybe it's my LeBron bias playing into it, but I do think the Lakers do close this out in 7. I think at the end of the day, LeBron is more capable winning a game in the Oracle than this abysmal Warriors team can win on the road. So I really do have the Lakers in 7, and that's my take. I just think LeBron is going to come out like that IG caption that he had against the Grizzlies. If you thought that shit was hard, the caption he's going to have when they beat the Lakers, with Bronny going to USC today, staying home, LeBron's about to go crazy, and I'm so sold on that. Lakers in 7, chip me, Bron, even though I don't think the Lakers win the chip this year, but I do think they beat the Warriors.
I got Warriors in 7. Just
okay.
I think just Steph just puts on another performance. I just feel like the true difference between him and Bron is just physical attributes. And I think the way Curry plays is better for the time now. You know, LeBron could drive and get you a dunk, put you up by 2, but Steph is going to come down, 35-footer, splash, now you're down 1. Steph is, the way he shoots the ball is ridiculous. He shot it over Bron and who was it? I think Vanderbilt last game, to really just seal the deal, put the nail in the coffin for that last game, for that game 2. And he was having a terrible game. He ended with 20, but he stepped it up in those last few minutes, and he showed that if I want to go get my bucket, I'm going to go get it. Like, if I need to catch fire, I'm going to catch fire. And I think that's what makes a difference in the series. I think if Steph turns it on, it could get ugly for the Lakers quick. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Bron could also turn it up and take a few games, but when it comes down to it, I think it's just for the guys that are surrounded by Bron compared to the guys surrounded by Steph. The guys surrounded by Steph are champions. They know what to do. They know how to, get it done. Kevon Looney, he's been on plenty of their championship teams. Jordan Poole just won a chip last year, but he's been around the team long enough. All those role players that they have, they know what to do. The organization's a winning organization. Not saying the Lakers aren't a winning organization, but some of the players that they have now haven't been there. Rui's going nuts, but can Rui show up in the biggest moments? He kind of shined away in that last series against the Grizzlies. He wasn't doing much towards the end. It was, really Bron, just showing up. D'Angelo Russell really took over. I mean, D'Angelo Russell right now has, when I checked last time, this first quarter he had 11. Everybody else
It's
had.
got 13 now.
I mean, like that's one guy I think can help Braun without needing the playoff experience, so to speak. But I don't think D'Angelo gives you that game once every 3. No.
Yeah, I think you're really cutting it. I think you're really disrespecting the talents of Wenyen Gabriel and all those guys. I think the DNA that the Lakers bench do have is something that can't compete with the Warriors, but definitely have some attributes to making a good championship team. Um, but to continue your point, yes, I think if D'Lo, like we said, if the role players really team, I find it hard for the Warriors to compete because you got a presence down low in AD, who realistically, who in the Warriors are stopping him? Like it has to be a collective effort to stop him. You got Braun, who's Braun, and then you got D'Lo who can shoot, Reeves who can shoot, and you got all these other guys. Ruri, Vando isn't really a scorer, but you got players that can step up when need be. Um, the real question is there biddies courtside for Jordan Poole to have a pool party?
Man, I don't gotta be no biddies. It's a pool party in LA all the time. Simple as that.
Even though he's been pretty bad so far in these playoffs. But he had a good game one. And I want to talk about that. What's your thoughts on the game one shot by Jordan Poole? Realistically, is that a good shot?
Yes, for Jordan Poole and the Golden State Warriors, that's a good shot. He shot 6 for 13 from 3 that game alone. And the way the Warriors are set up, yes, absolutely. Don't get me wrong. Do I believe he should have waited for Steph? Steph should have taken that last shot? 1,000%. Without a doubt in my mind. If it was me, I'd say let Steph shoot the shot, not you. But I'm not mad at his shot. The way the Warriors are set up, that's the shot that they want. That's the shot that they take.
But with 10 seconds left on the clock, with ample space, like he was open, sure, but you can take a dribble in, create something, penetrate, go for a quick 2 foul. I just think I personally, I saw the shot. I texted every group chat that I was in, like, Jordan Poole is. I said some pretty mean things, but I was just like, he's an idiot. Like, this is insane. Like, what? You lack ball IQ. Like, penetrate, take a dribble in, or do something. I just thought the Warriors could have stole that game.
Of course they could have, but let's say he hits it. What's the conversation?
Well, he didn't. That's the thing. If he hits it, he hits it, but he didn't. So.
But he has, shout out to Emmanuel Oka. I think how you say his name. Jordan Poole from that distance shoots a better percentage than Devin Booker, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kevin Durant, who shoot from 3, regular 3, not even from the distance that Jordan Poole shot from, which was I think 25 to 27. He said Jordan Poole shoots 36% from there throughout the whole season, and he shoots better percentage than those guys from a regular 3-point. I'm not mad at him. I don't think it was a terrible shot. I think he knows I hit this, it's a backbreaker. If I don't, it's just this is the system. This is just how we play. Should Steph take the shot? 100%. That's something he should think about next time. But he knows I'm open. I'm going to take it. I'm on fire. I mean, he had 6 threes. 3 of them had 6 threes. Any one of those 3 guys could have taken the shot, and it'd be as simple as that.
And I do agree in a sense that he has the distance, he has the range to shoot that. I just think when it comes down to it, you had 10 seconds left. You didn't have 3, you didn't have 4, you didn't have 5. You had 10 seconds. You had plenty of time to create not 1, but probably 2 better shots.
You want to do like Grayson Allen, just dribble up all the way? Like, there's just.
But Grayson Allen did that. Grayson Allen did that with 3 seconds left, like a dumbass. Like Jordan Poole had 10 seconds. He could have done his stupid and tween behind the back pull up 3. You know what I mean? And yes, Curry was getting doubled. He was getting doubled. So realistically, he was probably the best person to shoot that at that prime position. I just think take a step in, drive, draw a contact, draw a foul. Poole's a 90% free throw shooter. Play the free throw game. Braun is not clutch at the free throw line. I think they are just other methods for them probably to steal that game.
I just don't see it. If he drives, doesn't get a call, why the fuck did you drive? You take your step in, you let them get refocused. Now everybody's locked up because if you're looking for Curry, they were sending 2 at Curry. What are you gonna give it to Draymond? What was Draymond gonna do? Dribble, look for Clay Curry. At the end of the day, Poole's gonna take the shot more than likely because they want to shy away from Clay and Curry.
And I personally, and I will say this, and then we'll kind of move on, and we'll give your final thoughts. I think Jordan Poole played hero ball. I think he wanted to be the poster child of NBA Twitter and just wanted to be a hero. I think he wanted to make a statement. And ultimately, like you said, if he made it, he would have been that would have been tough. Like that would have been tough, but he didn't. And people will clown him if the Warriors don't win this series. So that's kind of my thoughts on pool party. I don't think it's going to be a pool party in LA. I think the kiddie pool is going to dry up pretty quick in that sunny, Southern California sun.
It's a party inside my city, yeah. That's what I have to say.
Well, we saw what happened. You saw what John Morant posted on Instagram for Dylan Brooks?
No, he both.
Maybe it was a meme. Apparently, it was like, it's a parade inside my city in Mandarin, and then he added Dylan Brooks. But maybe that was a fake account.
That was definitely a fake account.
Yeah, well, I just got trolled. Anyways, going over to the final series, something that we both kind of have really high stakes on. Maybe not higher than some other people that have appeared on the podcast. But let's talk about the New York Knicks losing Game 3 today to the Miami Heat, who are the 8th seed, with the Heat being up 2-1. I feel like there's a lot to talk about, and then there's not a lot to talk about, because ultimately what we're seeing from this New York Knicks team, who once the Bucks lost to the Heat, I mean, every hopeful Knicks fan was like, yeah, we're going to the conference finals. We're seeing the Celtics. We might make the finals. And to be honest, with the way the Knicks are playing, with now quickly apparently being injured with the sprained ankle, the Knicks are they're in limbo right now. So, Chris, I'll kind of let you take it away. What's your thoughts on the first 3 games, the game specifically today? And do the Knicks have a shot of making it out of the second round for the first time in like 20 years?
First of all, this is how Game 3 made me feel. That's how it made me feel. Aggravating throughout the whole game. I mean, the first 3 games, I think it kind of went how we're expecting the series to go. Just a back and forth. Jimmy gonna be Jimmy, and he just elevates in the playoffs. I don't know what it is. I don't know what he does. Whether he just goes like this in the regular season, and when it comes to the playoffs, he sits up on his chair and he gets focused.
Playoff Jimmy is real, by the way. I know he says it's not. It is 100% real.
There's no shot it's not real. You're proving it to every time you step on the court. You prove it that shit is real. It's ridiculous. I mean, the first game, we got punched in our mouths. Expected it. Jimmy wasn't gonna just roll over. Second game, I expected a win. Tough, hard win. Depending on
against a Jimmy Butler's Miami Heat team.
Exactly. And I think regardless, I said it, between our friend group, even if Jimmy did play, I think we were taking that win. It probably would have been a lot more closer than it already was. It was already close enough, but I think it would have been a lot more nail-biting if Jimmy played. We did what we had to do. Third game, I expected as much. Jimmy to play, Jimmy to come out and beat Jimmy Butler, Jimmy playoff. Like, playoff Jimmy, you know what I mean? Just come out and just do what he does and put the Heat on his back. Everybody else, I was surprised that Bam played pretty well. Bam's been playing okay, but he played pretty well today. Randall, he had 10 and 14. I think Jalen, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's, the wear and tear of the season is getting to him now a bit. With just small injuries here and there. Still performing well, but, most people, expected, Jalen to have 30, you know what I mean? And he's just not. I mean, he's still getting his 20-something. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's bumming it. Absolutely not. If it's not for Jalen Brunson, we really wouldn't be in the position that we're in. But I guess we're just expecting a bit more, being New York fans, from him. You showed us what you could do, so we're expecting just a ton from him. Even though we're just, we're just not in the best of positions right now against a hungry team, against a team whose leader is just a rabid dog on, with rabies. Like, he wants it. Like, he wants it more than everybody else on the court. And it's frustrating. It's annoying as hell. It's just like, come on now. Like, it's just one guy. Can we stop him? Of course, there's role players. Max Strus, he was getting his buckets. K-Love with his rebounds and outlets, looking like freaking Aaron Rodgers, throwing dots. Bam playing well enough, and our guys, our bench just, disappearing. So
I think a lot of it, I know I've made some comments about Tibbs in the past, and I think what's struggling with the Knicks is Julius Randle is for the second time in his playoff career with the Knicks is just showing he's not a playoff performer. He was very bad in the Cleveland series, and he's once again very bad in this series. He came back in game 2, had a good game, almost a near triple-double. Got to give him his flowers there. But a bigger game on the road here where a couple months back hit 8 threes in the game winner against Miami. You would think he would come back and do something. He shut down. He didn't do anything. And the one thing I think that the Knicks' problem is 2 things. And we've mentioned this so many times on the pod. They lack ball movement. One of the worst assisting teams in the league, ranked 26th in the league in assists. And come playoff time, when they focus in on your best players, listen, RJ Barrett had a very bad game 1 and 2 against Cleveland. From that point on, he's been amazing. He's been stellar. This game wasn't the best, but none of the Knicks showed up. Brunson was okay, but he isn't what we've seen from Brunson in the playoffs. The Knicks' problem is they play too much iso ball, and with a good defensive team like Miami, it is not that hard to stop. You just switch on every screen or you come and help, because ultimately at the end of the day, the Knicks don't really have that many shooters. Like Josh Hart has been great. Josh Hart is not a shooter. You don't have anyone. RJ Barrett is as inconsistent as it comes. Julius Randle is not a reliable three-point shooter come postseason. They don't have any shooters, and it's tough because Quentin Grimes, who was that shooter for the Knicks that they can rely on, is now off the starting lineup because Josh Hart is kind of this bang down low kind of player, does everything, does the nasty, gritty stuff. But I kind of think Tibbs is overusing him. Like, Josh Hart is great, but 45 minutes is a little too much. You take away the confidence of Grimes. You take away the confidence of Quickly. You take away the confidence of Toppin, who was balling. Like, Obi was balling when Randle wasn't there. Killed it in game 1. Did great in the Cleveland series. And maybe the stats didn't show it, but the eye test was there. I think the Knicks, it's just the philosophy. Like, Thibodeau just doesn't run an offense. He just says, guys, go do your thing. And the Knicks can't win like that because Jimmy Butler can literally get a shot anywhere. Jalen Brunson can as well, but Jimmy Butler does it on both ends. Jimmy Butler is insane. I don't know what Eric Spoelstra has said to his guys, but Max Strus is coming out giving buckets. Duncan Robinson is being useful. Kyle Lowry's coming out of the woodworks being great. Gabe Vincent is looking stellar. Bam is playing okay. Like, the Knicks are losing to, I don't want to say a bunch of bums because Miami are an 8th seed, but they don't even deserve to be an 8th seed. But realistically, like, this should have been a walk in the park. And right now the Knicks are going to Miami down 2-1. They lost home court advantage. So if they lose game 4, they're done. I don't see them coming back because they just don't have that DNA that you need. They're still young. And I just don't think, like, Julius Randle is just, I don't know. I don't want to be a hater because I still have faith in this Knicks team, but I just think Julius Randle's play style for the playoffs just doesn't match up. Like, he's not the same performer. Jalen Brunson's been great. RJ's been great, but they lack shooting. They lack passing the ball. And their defense has still been okay. Like, their offense has been the problem. Like, every single game against the Heat, it's been a pretty low-scoring 100-point game for both sides. So, like, they haven't been struggling defensively. It's just offensively they can't put the ball in the hole. And like you said, when you got people like Kevin Love coming out of the retirement home, and I love Kevin Love, but he's not the same player, looking with the best QBR in New York, and Bam Adebayo playing okay, Kyle Lowry doing well. Like, Caleb Martin had a big game too, even though they lost. Like, Tom Thibodeau needs to talk to his bench and needs to play them more because I love Josh Hart, but he does not deserve to be playing 45 minutes a game. He just needs to spread the love a little better, in my opinion. And I think for the Knicks to come back, passing the ball, having that ideology, because Julius Randle had 8 assists. Like, a lot of people, RJ Barrett had 6 assists in one of these games. Like, pass the fucking ball, and great things will come.
Absolutely. And I mean, just speaking of the play styles of the Knicks, I was saying this to one of our close friends about Jalen Brunson. I love him in everything, but sometimes I just feel like, damn, if he was just a bit more of a shooter, that would make the world of difference. If he was just a bit more of this and that, I would make a world of difference. Now, of course, that's a game of what ifs, but it's just a player that Jalen Brunson is. He's just a guy who's going to drive to the paint. He's going to get you your mid-range and lower points, you know. If it's a good game, we're going to get 2 or 3, 3-point shots, but he's just not a shooter. And that's what just I sometimes just hate about his game. Like, why can't you just be a shooter? You know what I mean? I'm not saying be Steph, but be a 35-40%. No, that's a lot. Like a 35, like a 32% 3-point shooter. Like
I think, and not to cut you off real quick, but I think Jalen Brunson, what makes him so good is he's one of the very few people that live off the mid range, which makes him so tough because you have to play him up front or up close, and he can blow right by you and do that iconic floater that he has. I think if Jalen Brunson was a great 3-point shooter, he'd be up there, but obviously not everyone can be that. So,
yeah,
but continue.
I mean, and this another thing about his game is just yes, he gets his assists, but he doesn't get his assist as often as you'd want him to as well.
I agree.
You being the main ball hunter, the main guy, even though you blame to Randall because you dump it off to Randall, that's it. It's a black hole. It's dribble, dribble, dribble. You
Yep.
give RJ, sometimes it's the same thing. They throw you in the post. But as the point guard, I feel like get Mitch in the pick and roll, lob it, get RJ in a pick and roll or something like that. Get RJ moving. Hey RJ, cut this way. Juju set up in the corner, like I'm gonna drive here, kick to you. And there are some times where Brunson just doesn't give the ball as much as he needs to.
There should be no reason that Josh Hart leads the team this playoff series in assists. Like there should be no reason. Like you said, be more of a leader. Like yes, you can score, Jalen. You've proven that, but they're going to hone in on you, make everyone else better. And I think that's what the Knicks have been struggling with is their players are just focused on putting the team on their back instead of making everybody else better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, and to touch on your Josh Hart over usage now, yeah, I'm behind that sentiment because it was working off the bench. He was the true spark plug. Before he came, it was Quick, but Quick wasn't, the guy to be a bully, to be, a New York, just a New York
Right.
bully in a sense. Hart came and it's just like, yeah, that's the bully we needed on this team. Like he's gonna get me my 6 rebounds as a guard, as 7 rebounds as a guard. He's gonna get me the loose balls. He's gonna play hardcore defense, and this is the guy that we need. Now I like what he used to do was start Grimes, give Grimes his minutes, and you sprinkle in Hart. And at the end of the game, who's in? Hart.
Hart.
Absolutely.
I think that's what the Knicks need to go back to be honest, because I don't know if they're worried that Jimmy Butler is going to fucking fuck everything up in the beginning of the game, but I think it's I think it's probably beneficial to let Jimmy do what he's going to do in the beginning. And I know people are saying, "Oh, he's going to get hot and everything," but let Grimes get those minutes because we need that shooter out there to space the floor.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, RJ's been he's been better since that game 2 in Cleveland. Like he's been better. Not, I mean, just been better. Actually, I'm not gonna say not great, but he's been good. Reliable. Today was just I don't know what it was. Jalen Rose was like maybe it was the weather, like being the heat. That your muscles get much more dehydrated. Being in the heat, that could be it. I doubt it, but these are NBA players. You should be fully hydrated, should be fully to go no matter where you are. The only difference I might say is Denver because the high altitude and all, but
Right.
you've played in Miami 2 times this year. You've proven that we can beat Miami. Let's get it going. Just it's tough for me. Just my Knicks. I'm a Knicks fan. I'm gonna go. I think Knicks. I'm gonna go Knicks. Knicks in 7.
And here's what I'll say to that point. I think there's 2 outcomes to this. I think the Knicks turn this around and they actually do what they need to do and actually beat the team that they should beat. And the Knicks do win in 7 because I don't see the Knicks winning 3 in a row. I just don't. They're just going to fuck up somewhere. They win in 7, or honestly, which I don't want to happen, but just the way that it's looking, is Miami takes care of business and finishes this in 5. I think that's the only. I don't think this goes to 6. I really don't. I think it's either it gets stretched to 7, or Miami take care of it in 5. Because ultimately, I need to see how the Knicks bounce back from a loss like this. Because game 1, it's fine. It's game 1, whatever. Game 3, sure, you can say like, all right, they took that game at home, with their home crowd. Let's see how they bounce back now. Because if they bounce back with a big win in Miami, now we're talking business. But if they fall in Miami again and don't look like a competent offense, the Knicks they're done at the Garden.
That's I thought you would say either Heat in 7 or Knicks in 7. That's my 2 outcomes in my head. I think this series goes to 7 regardless. I think the back and forth continues. I think the Knicks every time just somehow pull it off for a win, and it's just the game. This series just goes to 7, and it's just a dogfight.
And the makeup is to go 7 because ultimately at the end of the day, like Jimmy Butler can't win every game by himself, and he did it against Milwaukee, against the best team in the league. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you need some sort of role players to come out, and you can't expect all his role players to do well. So this has the makeup to be a dogfight. I got to see more from this Knicks offense, man. This Knicks offense has been abysmal in Game 3, and I need to see them turn it around.
Absolutely.
All right. So with that being said, we kind of had the Celtics both in 6. We had the Knicks in 7, or the Heat in 5. We had the Suns in 7, or the Nuggets in 6, and then we had Lakers in 7, or you had Warriors in 7. I had Lakers in 7. So kind of just to wrap everything up, why not do something a little fun? So what do you think is going to happen, or what's your bold prediction for the rest of this round of the playoffs? What do you think is going to happen? Jordan Poole's going to go for 50. Joel Embiid's going to have a 10-assist game. Draymond Green drops a quintuple double.
I mean, I think somewhere in the series, Jimmy gets a triple double. I think somewhere in the series, Julius gets a triple double. Just somewhere randomly in a game where it's just a ton of stuff going on. The Boston series, I think you get a 40-point game from Tatum, 45. That's pretty natural. You also might get a triple double from James back-to-back games. I might think if they surprise in the series. The Nuggets series, I'm gonna be honest, you might see a 60 piece from both Booker and KD. That's just how I see it. They're just both gonna score 60 and they're gonna win 120 to freaking 115. Honestly, just the way that series is going, the way that team is going, you might see that. And the Warriors and Lakers, you might see another. Yeah, honestly, I envision it. It's Game 7, Warriors Lakers. I think you see LeBron and Curry go both go for 50 points, literally.
I think my hot take is someone beats Jordan's playoff record in terms of most points scored. I don't know who it's going to be. If I had to make a pick, I'd say Booker, but I think it gets broken, if not this round, this playoff season. I think 63 is going to get broken this playoffs.
I could definitely see that. And I mean, off the top of your head, real quick, rapid fire, who do you think would be the 5 or whatever, how many players you can think of right now that can do it?
Right now in the playoffs, I got Booker, KD, Steph, Tatum.
Oof.
I don't want to say Embiid because I don't think, or Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler. That was an interesting one. I thought you would go with Jimmy like after the first 3 obvious guys, which would be KD, Book, and Curry. But yeah, I mean, we're same sentiment here. Book. I think if we're really picking a favorite, like Vegas odds, I say Book would be the number 1 front runner.
For sure. He's getting the most shots. So
yeah, so I definitely pick him. And second,
if Vegas is doing this, and if there was like a plus 25,000, I'm picking Michael Porter Jr. Because that man shoots everything once he gets the ball. But yeah, no. Anything that you kind of want to say, Chris, to kind of touch up on another great episode with you for the 12th episode of the RizPod?
I mean, Knicks to the finals. They're going to win in 7, no matter who it is. They're just going to win. That's just my crazy prediction. But if we're taking off my Knicks hat, I'm in the finals. I'm just going to just throw this out there. I could see the Warriors versus the Celtics again, to be honest. Could see that.
That would be a snooze fest. My NBA Finals predictions won't be listed here. You're going to have to listen to the podcast, continue to listen to it to kind of see what I say. But yeah, with that being said, Chris, thank you so much for being on the RizPod for the 3rd time in 12 episodes. I can't wait to have you on again. It's always been a blast. But with that being said, it's your boy, the man, the myth, the legend, RizGod, RizGod, baby, and Liddy boy, Chris. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.